Toby, a graffiti artist, sneaks into a lawyer's house and finds a person trapped in the basement. As he rescues him, somehow, lawyer Hector catches him, killing and flushing his ashes into the toilet. The scene shifts to the beginning of the movie. We see two friends, Toby and Jay, who are graffiti artists. They break into a house and spray paint "I came by" on the walls before sneaking out. Toby goes to a train station, and a well-dressed man gives a homeless man a disapproving look. Toby then pulls a trick, pretending to find the man's wallet and return it, earning a reward for his good deed. He secretly places the reward money in a homeless person's belongings, which he had previously shaken his head at. Toby went to his home and slept. Jay, on the other hand, was with a girl named Naz, and she was pregnant with his child. So he decided to leave his graffiti life behind and seek a more stable life to provide for his family. This is where the connection to Hector Blake comes in. Jay, his friend, worked a job where he entered Hector's house, who was the next target on their graffiti hit list, with an excuse of using the washroom. Jay got the Wi-Fi code, but he won't do this job. Toby had to do the job himself. When Toby entered the house and went down to the basement, he found some pictures from Hector's past, including his father and another person. Hector returned home because his security systems had malfunctioned, creating a tense moment where Toby had to escape. Before leaving, he peered through a peephole and saw a person stuck in Hector's basement. Toby, concerned about the person trapped in Hector's basement, made an anonymous call to the police to report it. The police arrived to investigate, but they didn't find anything. As they were about to search the basement, Hector claimed to have influential connections with the police commissioner and warned them about searching his house without a proper warrant. This left Toby frustrated that Hector wasn't arrested. Later, Hector noticed that a picture of his father was askew, making him suspicious that someone had broken into his house. Meanwhile, Toby got into a heated argument with his mother and left home. He happened to spot Hector leaving his house and decided to break in again. Unbeknownst to Toby, Hector had planned this situation. After Toby broke in, Hector noticed that his phone had lost signal and took a baseball bat with him. Toby went to the basement and found a thin, injured man. He attempted to free the man, but at that moment, Hector returned home. Toby rushed the man back into the basement, promising to return soon. Hector entered the house and saw everything in its place. Toby hid in a closet, planning to ambush Hector. In the basement, he found various tools and grabbed a hammer, intending to attack Hector from behind. However, he slipped in a pool of blood and Hector fatally struck him with the bat. He drained Toby's ashes into the toilet. Lizzie, Toby's mother, becomes concerned when Toby doesn't return home for several days. She reaches out to Jay to inquire about his whereabouts, and together, they decide to contact the police to investigate his disappearance. A journalist approaches Lizzie to inquire about Toby's disappearance, but she remains tight-lipped and doesn't share much information. Later, Jay, recalling that the last time he spoke to Toby, he mentioned going after Hector, drives to Hector's house. While there, he takes a letter from Hector's mailbox. However, a patrolling police car passes by and finds cigarettes on Jay, which leads to him being taken to the police station. Jay explains to the police officer that he took the cigarette as his wife is pregnant and he has been working late shifts to make ends meet. The officer understands his situation and releases him. Jay informs Lizzie about finding something in Toby's room. Upon Lizzie's report that Hector might be connected to Toby's disappearance, the authorities conduct another search of Hector's property. They discover a secret basement door, but Hector insists it's just a panic room. One of the cops named Mrs. Lloyd isn't convinced. Hector becomes angry and confronts the cop, leading to his arrest. However, due to a lack of concrete evidence, the cop has to release him. Lizzie, who works as a psychologist, was in a session with a patient when she started crying, missing Toby and uncertain of his whereabouts. During this time, she stumbles upon a hidden flash drive in Toby's room. She attempts to access it, but finds it password protected. Suspicious of Hector, Lizzie begins to follow him. Hector goes to get a massage from a man named Omid. Omid is waiting for the outcome of his refugee application, and Hector promises to help him. Hector confides in Omid, sharing that his father wanted him to become a lawyer, so he pursued a law degree. Hector's father has retired now. He narrates a story from his childhood, recalling how a young boy named Ravi, played by Antonio Aquil, was invited to live with them. and his father adopted Ravi as part of the family, giving him special care. Hector's mother was eventually relegated to the guest room, and his dad decided to put Ravi to bed. Hector began to feel that he was being replaced, which made Omid uncomfortable, as he could relate to some aspects of being Iranian. Omid excuses himself to use the restroom, but soon starts feeling dizzy, suspecting Hector spiked his drink. In a state of dizziness, Omid attempts to escape the house but can't find his shoes. Hector catches him and places him on the sofa. Omid asks about Ravi, to which Hector replies that he nearly killed him. Terrified, Omid runs for his life and manages to escape through an open window. Hector follows him, and as Omid flees in fear, Lizzie sees him leaving the house and decides to come out of the car to help. Seeing Lizzie, Hector stops and observes her through the window. In a fit of anger, Hector hurls his glass of drink at his father's portrait. Later, Lizzie begins investigating Hector online. Jay enters and joyfully shares the news that he has been blessed with a baby boy. He notices Lizzie researching Hector and pleads with her not to get involved in the mess. She then informs Jay about Omid's situation. On the other side, Omid has a conversation with Hector about the previous night. Omid didn't report the incident as he was living in the country illegally. Hector tries to get Omid to sit in his car, but Omid is initially reluctant. Hector uses blackmail, suggesting that he can help Omid obtain permanent UK residency or get him jailed. Fearing deportation, Omid reluctantly sits in Hector's car. Later, Lizzie returns to Lloyd and tells her about Omid, who is unwilling to speak to the police directly due to concerns about his application for permanent residence. Mrs. Lloyd also informs her that Omid is missing. Lizzie decides to take matters into her own hands and continue her investigation. Lizzie shows the same graffiti named "I Came By" to Jay, which shocks him, so she immediately closes the laptop. But Lizzie opens it and zooms in on Jay's hand. Jay accepts that he and Toby used to do this. Lizzie suggests Jay to help her and find Hector, but Jay refuses as he has a wife and a small child. He doesn't want to get involved in these things. Lizzie decided to catch Hector herself. She breaks into Hector's house with the keys that Hector stashes in earlier. But after searching around his house for some time, she couldn't find anything. Just when she was about to leave, Hector attacked her from behind. Lizzie puts up a fight, but Hector overpowers her. He takes her to the basement. Here, Lizzie asks him about her son, to which Hector replies that he burned him in the furnace and flushed him down the toilet. This broke Lizzie's heart, and she started crying. He then brings Omid's body out wrapped up in a plastic cover. He tells her that he will have to cut the body so that he can burn him in the furnace just like he did to Toby. He says to her that he won't cut her body after killing her, as she is so small that she will fit in the furnace. Some time passes, and Jay grows concerned about Lizzie's prolonged absence. He goes to her house and realizes she hasn't been home for days. Jay decides to check Hector's house, not realizing that Hector is the one responsible for both Toby and Lizzie's deaths. Naz, Jay's wife, knows where Hector is going to be because someone is delivering her dissertation to him. This information allows Jay to patiently wait and follow Hector to his new mansion. There, Jay discovers that Hector has seemingly resumed his twisted activities. Interestingly, Hector is sleeping in his childhood bed instead of the unoccupied master suite. A confrontation between Jay and Hector erupts, resulting in both of them sustaining serious injuries. However, Jay manages to escape and calls the police, informing them about the prisoner he found in Hector's basement. Jay helps the person to escape before leaving the scene. Later, we see Jay crying while driving his car. Meanwhile, the police arrive a few minutes later. They find Hector tied up and in a bad state. Mrs. Lloyd is pleased to see him in this condition, and Hector stares blankly into her eyes. The camera pans to a wall where the same graffiti is displayed, reading, "I Came By." The movie ends here.